So I see this all the time. A business owner panics about CMMC and goes out of the way and buys $50,000 worth of firewalls and encryption software for their entire company. Stop. You are lighting money on fire, or worse, they think that their CMMC Enclave should be their entire organization and ends up with a messy network diagram like this. So here's the pattern. They get a scary email from their prime. They hear CMMC Level 2 and 110 controls, and the knee-jerk reaction is buy more tools, buy the most expensive thing, lock everything down. The problem is not that the tools are bad. The problem is that they bought them before they understood what they actually needed to be protected. And if you do that, you're going to end up trying to defend every laptop, every printer, every smart TV, every intern's iPad to the same standard as your engineering server, which is insane from a cost and an effort standpoint. The secret to passing CMMC without going bankrupt is scoping. You don't need to secure your entire company. You only need to secure parts that touch the sensitive data. And today I'm going to teach you how to build out your CUI Enclave. So once you understand scoping, CMMC stops feeling like secure everything or die, and it starts feeling like build a highly secure bubble around that data that matters most and keep everything else out of that bubble. That bubble is your CUI Enclave, and it's the difference between a manageable project and a never-ending money pit. So, according to the CMMC Level 2 Scoping Guide, everything you own falls into one of 5 buckets. You need to know these by heart. So bucket number 1 is going to be your CUI Assets. These are your computers, your servers, your cloud services, and storage locations that actually process, store, or transmit the controlled unclassified information. Think of an engineer's laptop that opens the drawings from the DoD, the file server that holds those drawings, the cloud repository that syncs them, and the backup that copies them at night. Those are all going to be your CUI assets because the data lives or flows through them. So bucket number 2 is going to be your security protection assets, or your SPA. These are the things that provide security functions. These are firewalls, VPN concentrators, endpoint protection, log collectors, MFA systems, identity providers, even if they never directly touch CUI themselves. If a device or service is protecting your CUI systems, it is automatically in the scope of security protection asset, whether or not it even opens a single CUI file. And you want to try to prevent that if it does. So bucket number 3, these are your contractor risk managed assets, or CRMAs. These are systems that technically could reach CUI. Maybe they sit on the same network segment, but with policy and configuration, you deliberately keep them away from it. Picture an HR workstation that is on the corporate LAN, but your written policies say HR must never access CUI, and your technical controls, like your access controls and routing rules, back that up. Bucket number 4, specialized assets. These are where your CNC machines, your OT gear, lab equipment, IoT sensors, and government-furnished devices live. These systems might interact with CUI or be critical production, but they are hard or impractical to secure with all 110 controls. So they get special handling and scoping and documentation process instead of being treated like a standard Windows workstation. And finally, bucket number 5. These are your out-of-scope assets. They are assets that are physically or logically separated from CUI and do not provide security protections for CUI systems at all, like a completely isolated guest Wi-Fi network, the TV in the lobby, or an employee's personal phone that is on a segmented Wi-Fi network. The key is that they cannot get to the CUI, they are not part of protection stack, and so they don't have to meet the CMMC practices, but you must be able to show how that separation is enforced. And here's why these buckets matter. So once you tag everything in your environment into one of these categories, the assessment scope almost draws itself. Because CMMC Level 2 focuses on CUI assets and security protection assets first, with CRMA and specialized assets treated in a more limited, specific way. If you try to secure your whole network, every employee's iPhone, every smart thermostat, all of it becomes a liability. Instead, we build a CUI Enclave. And this is the segmented part of your network, maybe a specific VLAN, a dedicated set of servers, or a virtual desktop environment, or a VDI solution. This is where your CUI lives. It's where the strict CMMC controls are concentrated. Think of an enclave as a walled-off security domain. Inside that wall, everything is designed to handle CUI safely. And outside that wall, people can keep using normal business tools without dragging the entire company into the CMMC blast radius. The wall can be implemented with firewalls, VLANs, VPNs, separate identity tenants, or even a cloud-only environment dedicated to CUI workloads. And by doing this, your CUI assets and security protection assets are limited to the small box. Everything else becomes out of scope, or CRMA, which drastically reduces your audit costs and the number of systems that you'll need to meet all 110 practices. Fewer laptops are hardened, fewer systems to log, fewer devices to maintain at that higher assurance level. So here's a practical example. Imagine a 40-person company where only 8 engineers and 1 program manager ever touch CUI. Instead of dragging accounting, HR, marketing, and everybody else into scope, you build the Enclave for those 9 users and maybe a separate cloud collaboration space, email, file storage, just for the CUI work. And you tightly control who can log in and on those networks and devices, and from what devices. And in that model, your Enclave boundary includes their workstations or virtual desktops, the file repositories, the email system that receives CUI from the prime, and the security tools that protects the environment. Everything else, your office Wi-Fi, the printer on the front desk, the CEO's personal tablet, that all becomes out of scope, as long as they cannot reach CUI or the security stack protecting it. So my suggestion before the next video is to draw your network map out. You start simple. You grab a whiteboard or a sheet of paper, you put a little cloud labeled DoD/prime on one side, trace where that CUI actually goes from the moment it enters your environment to the moment it leaves. You circle where the CUI lives, your email inboxes, your file shares, engineering apps, backups, anywhere it's stored or processed or transmitted. As you draw and label each system with one of the 5 buckets, your CUI assets, your security protection assets, CRMAs, specialized and out of scope, or if that circle around your CUI includes your entire office, that is your signal that you do not have an enclave yet, and you have to do a lot of work to shrink that circle down to a smaller, well-defined island. Once you see the map, you can start asking the smart questions. Which of these users actually needs CUI access? What if we move this data into a single secure repository? Could we route the CUI email to a separate tenant or an enclave, or keep everything else on the normal system? This is how you turn CMMC from this vague 110 control checklist into a concrete architecture problem you can solve step by step. So in the next video, we're going to take that map and we're going to score it against DoD's brutal point system, so you can see in black and white how your scoping decisions impact your score and your risk.